Good morning, everybody. Wachek Misweb. It's a beautiful, beautiful Wednesday morning here in Toronto. The sun is shining, the skies are clear, and I'm very happy and thankful for another day. Kinanasko mitin gishamnato, omashigishigaw, mitinaminagishigaw, anoshkagishigak. So I just said, thank you, Creator, for another beautiful day. Today I wanted to talk about tobacco and how we use it. And I know not all nations use tobacco as offerings. We'll use different medicines for different occasions, but tobacco is one of the main ones that we use in this territory to offer as a, as an offering. Usually, when we're asking for something of someone, if we're asking for teachings, if we're asking for any type of, I guess, prayers, when we're asking for prayers. And also when we want to communicate with our ancestors and Creator, we'll often give offerings to the land or to the water or into the fire, into the sacred fire. I was just at fasting camp this past weekend. My son was fasting, and you know, I would put my tobacco out for my son onto the land and pray for him while he was out there and give some offerings of food, just to help him along on his journey. And when I went to go see him when he came out, one of the things he said was that he felt comfortable. He didn't suffer. And he's 16 years old, and he was out there for 2 nights and 2 days. And he said it was peaceful, it was quiet, and it was cold, though. That was the only thing he said, was that it was very cold. And so those are the things that I prayed for him, when I offered my sema, my tobacco, to Creator and to the ancestors to help my son and protect him, keep him safe, and not to be too hard on him, be gentle on him. He's only 16, so he had a good time. And so things like that, like, we'll often use tobacco as well. Like when we're feeding our ancestors, we'll put some tobacco on what's called a spirit plate when we're having feasts and traditional feasts, community feasts, ceremonial feasts. We'll often put a pinch of tobacco on top of the food to acknowledge that we're feeding the spirits, and we'll give that offering. One of my elders told me that this is something you should practice on a regular basis, is to get into the habit of feeding your ancestors regularly, whether that's monthly for you or whether that looks like it's seasonal for you, whichever way it is, but just to get into that practice of feeding them. Those are the ones that really guide us and protect us on our journeys, as our ancestors, and we really have to show gratitude and give our offerings to them as well, and to acknowledge the great work that they've done before us. On us on Earth, we have hard times. We have difficult times, and it's always good to have that guidance and the knowledge from our ancestors. So if you give your offering, you might be having a hard time in life, you might be struggling, and you'll often hear elders to tell you, go put your tobacco out, go put your tobacco down, and you'll get some answers, or you'll get some guidance, or whatever it is the ancestors think that you might need. So, you'll go and you'll take your tobacco and you'll go put it out and you'll pray. And it'll come to you. It may not be right away, it may not be, immediately, but it'll work itself out. And that's another important thing, is to make sure that, you're always, you have that mindset of like, things are going to work out, whichever way Creator intends, it's going to work out. Try not to be too much in a headspace of worry and anxiety, because it's not healthy and it's not helpful. But if you're in a place where you're in prayer and you're in self-reflection and in a place of knowing that it will work out, and have that faith, your prayers, they can be answered. I wanted to share an image with you quickly of just a little summary quick. Oh, never mind, I can't share it. I'll just read it to you. So this is a document that I created for Native Child, just to share with the staff of when and why we offer tobacco and how to make tobacco ties, and when you're making a request. So I'll just read this to you. It's a little document, little handout, and it says, when and why to offer tobacco. Offering tobacco is a traditional practice that is shared by many peoples. It is offered for many reasons and in many contexts, just like what we just talked about. For example, it is appropriate to offer tobacco when asking for assistance from an Indigenous elder, a healer, a knowledge keeper, or a medicine person. When the person accepts the tobacco, they are agreeing to help in some way. However, it is important to note that they are not obligated to accept the offer and ask questions and seek clarification for your request. So it's also important to know, just on that note, that just because we offer tobacco to someone, they don't have to accept it. And maybe they're not in a place where they're able to accept it, and that's okay. We have to accept that denial and move on to the next person who we think can help us. When someone accepts the tobacco, they are agreeing to listen openly and support you the best that they can. It is appropriate to offer tobacco when asking for a ceremonial song, an opening prayer, a sacred teaching, Indigenous knowledge, or for any advice. A tobacco offering should never replace remuneration or honoraria. And that's another thing to keep in mind as well, especially when you're working with elders and knowledge keepers and people who dedicate their life to working in ceremony and culture and in spirit. It's never, tobacco should never replace any monetary offerings as well. You know, so oftentimes these type of workers that do the spiritual work, that's maybe their only line of work and their only source of an income. Especially when we're thinking about elders and senior citizens who may be retired. It's always important. Yes, you offer your tobacco. That's acknowledging the spirit of the request is a tobacco. But we also have to honor and respect that person or that individual's time and their consideration. They have to travel to wherever it is they need to go. They take the time out of their day, and then the work is often very strenuous. It's tiring and draining to do spiritual work. So it's tiring on their bodies. So different things like that, we have to take that also into consideration. So offering a gift or an honoraria of some form is also very important. So how to make a tobacco tie? Well, first of all, you'll need some tobacco. Finding traditional ceremonial tobacco is the best option. So type of tobacco that you would harvest on your own or plant on your own would be the best option, but it is okay to offer commercial tobacco if you don't have. And the reason why we try not to use commercial tobacco if we don't have to is that there's a lot of chemicals in commercial tobacco that's not safe and not healthy, and not good for the environment either. So we try to stay away from that as best we can. You can purchase traditional ceremonial tobacco online. You can search online. I know Six Nations sells some. Different areas, especially around here, different reserves might be able to sell some online. And you can purchase loose tobacco from pretty much any tobacco store if you just ask for the pouch or the tub of tobacco. For cloth, also for a tobacco tie, you'll need a piece of cloth. You'll need to use fabric to make your tobacco tie, preferably cottons, and preferably something that is 100% cotton. And you'll use colors such as red, yellow, white, green, purple, or blue. And you don't need a lot. You honestly just need a little tiny square of like maybe 4 inches by 4 inches for your tobacco tie. So you're not going out there and you're not purchasing like 4 yards. You're just needing a piece of it. Maybe you can purchase a yard for yourself just to have just to have on hand for when you do need to make a tobacco tie. And so when you're preparing your tobacco tie, you're cutting your fabric into a square. Like I said, like 4 inch by 4 inch is a good amount. And then you put a small amount of the tobacco inside the center of the cloth. And then you fold all corners of the cloth together. And then you can use like a piece of ribbon or a strip of the fabric that you use to make your tobacco tie. And then you take that and you just wrap it around on top, almost like you make a little ball and you wrap it around. And then that's your tobacco tie. So when you're making a request, you can offer the tobacco tie, or you can offer an entire pouch of tobacco when you make your initial request. You offer it by holding it in your left hand in front of you, and that's your hand that's closest to your heart. So that's why we advise you to use your left hand. If for some reason you can't, the right hand's perfectly fine too. You state your request, you be very specific about it. And if the person accepts your request, then you can then place the tobacco in their hand. For an example, you can say, I'm offering you this tobacco for the opening and closing remarks of this event, the smudging ceremony, and for your guidance with helping us throughout the event, just as an example. And then if they say, okay, I will help you and I will help you with what you've requested, and then you can offer and place the tobacco in their hand. So that's pretty much all I can think of when we talk about tobacco offerings and the importance of it. So that's it for me today. And I thank you all so much for tuning in and listening. If there are any questions, feel free to leave a comment or